This is the well-known Concert for Bangladesh, or Bangladesh, as people say. As you can see, my copy has met with better days with the corners of the box. I have yet to find a copy that doesn't have this. The cardboard in this was not of the highest quality, I don't think. I don't know if it was the orange color or what, because I have All Things Must Pass, and usually when I see copies of that, the box is pretty much intact. I don't know. Perhaps because that All Things Must Pass came in custom inner sleeves of heavy stock paper and a poster. This has custom inner sleeves, heavy stock paper, and a big booklet. Oh, maybe it was bulging out. I don't know. Maybe Alan Klein cut corners. The whole story of this is well documented and how it came together, and John Lennon was almost there, but in the end it was just George, Ringo, and several dozen guests. And Alan Klein then did some weirdness with the accounting, and the British government gave him a hard time, and the money didn't get to people for years. And there was a single that preceded this, just called Bangladesh, as George Harrison pronounces it, with Deep Blue as the B-side, tribute to George's mother, and neither of those really has appeared on many albums. Sometimes the A-side does. Now, with the new box sets, it's all out there. But there was a box set of this released several years ago, and I think they changed this to white, as they did in the reissue in 1991 when Apple's reissues first started coming out. The problem with this album, for many years getting it, was Bob Dylan's record company, Columbia Records, in exchange for letting him appear on this, said, okay, we get to distribute all non-vinyl copies of this and worldwide distribution. Apple, EMI, you get to do it in the US on vinyl, and I think maybe in England, I'm not sure. But when they said non-vinyl, that meant at the time reel-to-reel tape, which I have never seen, cassette, and 8-track, which I have seen, and no one realized that would also mean someday compact discs. So when compact discs came in, Apple, EMI, and Columbia had a big brouhaha over who was going to get that sweet plum, because they knew it would be a relatively big catalog seller. And when it finally did come out, I think it did well, and then it disappeared again. But they finally remastered it, put on some bonus stuff. There's the DVD. You can find all that. But this is the original vinyl set. Unlike All Things Must Pass, there's nothing printed in the inside of the lid. Here's the nice booklet, which usually I find pages missing. This one, I've yet to see, this copy, I mean, I've yet to notice if there's any pages missing. And if you recognize that, that's the cover of Bob Dylan's Greatest Hits Volume 2, which came out in '71. The real photo is George and Bob discussing. That's a pretty good album too, the Greatest Hits Volume 2. It has several tracks that aren't anywhere else, so I recommend that as well. The concert took place in June of '71. I think that Greatest Hits album came out late that year, and this came out in December. And then it won the Grammy for that year, not given out till early '73, for Best Album. Just a few things of note on here. First of all, this is the final side, side 6. You'll notice there's only 2 songs, and there's not that much jamming. So that means, if you've ever seen a copy of this, if you've ever examined the vinyl, well, it seems risky to do that now. Maybe? Maybe? Fumbling with my new phone. You can't really tell. Anyway, the grooves are very wide. They have lots of space, and so it sounds quite good compared to the rest of the album. That's side 6, and you're thinking, why is it back with side 1 instead of side 5? This was what was called changer sequence. They put side 1, 2, and 3 on side, so you put side 1 on your record changer. Above this would be the disc with side 2, and then 3, and then you would take the whole stack of 3 discs, flip the whole stack over, and then put it back, and then 4, 5, and 6 would play in order. Not the best idea for your records or for your needle or for sound quality, but back then they wanted convenience. One other thing that you'll notice, side 1 is essentially a Ravi Shankar solo set, and side 3, there's side 2, side 4 is not the one I'm looking for, but here's side 5, and this is all a Bob Dylan set. So that's 3 discs, 4 sides with George and the band, and occasionally, you know, Leon Russell sang a tune or medley, and Ringo Starr did, but he forgets the words, by the way. To It Don't Come Easy, because he didn't really write it. You can go online, you can find a pretty much finished version of that with George singing what they've labeled guide vocal, and it probably is, but it's clear that it was a song of his and he meant it for himself. And he's got some louder Hare Krishna vocals, which you can barely hear on the finished recording, or they're mixed out in spots. Anyway, getting back to this. So side 1, all Ravi Shankar. Side 5 all Bob Dylan, and the other 4 sides are George and Friends. So this album was re-released at some point in the late 70s, early 80s, and the record company figured, you know what, this whole crazy deal with Columbia, if we get rid of the Bob Dylan side, this is Capitol Records after George had left, if we get rid of the Bob Dylan side, we don't have to do the whole deal with distribution and Columbia Records and all that stuff. But in doing that, they then had an odd number of sides. They couldn't very well fill it out with silence, and they couldn't very well squeeze these 2 songs from side 6 into the rest of the set. They said, you know what, we'll eliminate Ravi Shankar's section. So then that got done in 4 sides, 2 discs. They came out not in a box, but in a gatefold sleeve. Might have even been a single, fatter sleeve, and you shoved both discs in at the same time. I can't be sure because I've never seen one. And it had purple Capitol labels, if you've seen those from the early 80s. And that didn't last. That didn't fly. Columbia Records got wind, George got wind, somebody got wind, Abco got wind, which was the management company for Apple. Somebody wasn't happy, and that quickly came off the market, and that's worth a lot of money, even though it's got less music, and it has no book.